The symbol of the cross dates back to the early Paleolithic era. This ancient cross depicted within a circle was interpreted as an ancient solar symbol in the 19th century, and for that reason, it was named the Sun Cross in recent times. But in what some believe to be the oldest written text on the planet, the ancient Sumerians described a crossing or a point of transition that exists in the heavens. The word they used in reference to this crossing was the word Nibiru. And more specifically, they said Nibiru is Marduk's star. It was said to have occupied the passageways of heaven, a star which the gods caused to become visible. It stands as a post at the turning point. These writings are dated to around the 3rd millennium BC. The ancient Sun Cross, then, may represent that heavenly crossing, not our sun, but the star Nibiru. It was unclear why this star mattered so much to the Sumerians until the interpretations of the writings by Zecharia Sitchin. Many of Sitchin's translations of the Sumerian texts have been discredited by scholars, but his theory that Nibiru represented a planet that is in an elongated orbit of 3,600 years around our sun seems to have been at least partially corroborated by U.S. Naval Observatory astronomer Robert Harrington. In a 1990 interview, Harrington confirmed with Sitchin that his scientific research could be explained by another planet outside the orbit of Neptune that has an elongated elliptical orbit. Both Sitchin and Harrington agreed on that point, and they also agreed on the possible location of the object near the constellation Libra. Harrington's 1988 report listed 2 possible locations at that time, either in Scorpio or Taurus. Scorpio is next to Libra, which is the location Sitchin believed it to be in, and Taurus is the location of the Pleiades where the Bible says the fallen angels came from. The object obviously may have moved from one location to the other in any given time, but whether Nibiru represents a star or a planet is unclear. The ancient Sumerians specifically referred to it as a star. Therefore, the ancients were telling us that it is a sun, which means the Sun Cross may refer to the location of Nibiru, the star in the heavens where the crossing is. After the Sumerians in ancient Egypt, the cross symbol took the form of the Ankh, which has a shape at the top of the cross resembling what could be half of a figure 8 shape. In previous videos on this channel, we've looked at different scientific investigations into this heavenly object. Some scientists believe it's not a planet, but a brown dwarf star that can only be seen with an infrared telescope. Other scientists have postulated that Earth's sun is part of a binary solar system with another star, and the Binary Research Institute is investigating the possibility that this other star may be the star system Sirius. In addition to this, it's also recognized by the scientific community that circumbinary planets exist, planets that orbit 2 stars. So, could it be that this object Nibiru is either a brown dwarf or a gas giant that at one time orbited between our sun and Sirius in a figure 8 orbit? And furthermore, could it be that this object is mentioned in the Bible? Well, first and foremost, the cross is a prominent symbol in the Bible. Christ, as we're told in Matthew 27:40 and 1 Corinthians 15, died on the cross, was buried, and ascended to heaven on the 3rd day. Christ is the bridegroom, explained in Matthew 1:16 and 9:14 through 16. The sun represents Christ, as we're told in Psalm 19:4 and 5, and in 2 Peter 3:8, we're told one day can represent 1 millennium. Therefore, the Bible is telling us that the sun is on the cross, buried below, and ascends after 3,000 years. As we've noticed in other videos, the book of Revelation makes multiple references to Egyptian myth. The star Sirius had a prominent place in Egyptian myth, and Sirius is below the ecliptic of our solar system. Therefore, an object coming from that location of the sky would be ascending upward from our perspective. So if the texts are correct, then this star will stand at the crossing for 3,000 years, then ascend up to our solar system in the third millennium. The Bible tells us that Christ will return from a faraway country and will stay here for 1,000 years. Matthew 25:14, John 14:2 and 3, and Revelation 20, verse 6. After that 1,000-year period, it says, the world then degrades and the beast rises to power again. This is describing a cycle, in other words, possibly an orbit. Revelation 20 verses 12 through 14 then describes the place of the dead and the second death, which is a direct reference to Egyptian myth, which tells us the place of the dead is the underworld where Sirius is, below the ecliptic. We're told the dead will rise again at this time. In other words, those who went to the underworld below the ecliptic in the crossing near Sirius will rise again. In other words, they will ascend to our solar system. Christ will ascend from the cross. Sitchin believed the Sumerian texts described a race of people who lived on this planet who enslaved humanity in the past. However, scholars have proven many of his translations to be incorrect. So, could he have been right about some things and wrong about others? Is the Bible right about this object, or was Sitchin right? The Bible tells us that Christ is the Son of God, which literally translates to descendants of God. The Bible tells us that God gave humanity domain over this planet. We weren't slaves, but that the beast made us into slaves. The Bible tells us that God went away to a faraway place, but will rise from the cross after 3,000 years, stay with us for 1,000 years, and during that time, the beast will be deprived of power. So we know there's multiple meanings in each verse of the Bible. So could this be another deeper meaning? And could the fallen angels know this secret? We're told in Amos and Job that the beast keeps this object secret. The star is the dragon, and wormwood is a stone from the dragon's tail that will be cast to earth. So the Bible gives us a 7,000-year period. It tells us the beast will rule for 120 lifetimes. 120 lifetimes can equal 6,000 years. So it tells us there are 6,000 years of beast's rule. Then the blessed seventh day, which is the seventh millennium, the 1,000-year rule by God. So what if this object in the faraway place, in the place of the crossing, sits there for 3,000 years, maybe because of a gravitational anomaly of some kind, then breaks free and circles our sun for 1,000 years, and then goes back to the crossing below and sits for another 3,000 years. Could that be the 7,000-year cycle that the Bible refers to? 3,000, 1,000, 3,000, and then repeat. Sitchin was an author. He was not a linguist or a scientist. Yet his work was recognized by an astronomer who corroborated parts of his theory concerning the orbit of the heavenly object. His translations concerning the inhabitants of this object was not corroborated by any professional, but his theory about the 3,600-year orbit was corroborated by a scientist. So the Christian cross may symbolize this ancient orbit, and the ankh may also symbolize the orbit. If the orbit was in the shape of a figure 8, which I postulated several years ago, and that orbit circled around Sirius, then sat in the crossing for a long time, and then circled our star, then the ancient ankh could be showing the ascension of Nibiru from the cross. In other words, it seems to show the orbit of Nibiru on our side, leaving the crossing up into our solar system. Also notice the Gnostic cross used in early Christianity actually shows the ancient sun cross above the Christian cross. So again, seems to be symbolizing the area of the star's ascension. So for more information about this subject and how it relates to ancient Bible prophecy, please see the links at the end of this video. Thank you to those who have made this work possible. If you liked this video and want more like it, please consider providing support using the link below. I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you later.